Good evening. Live right now. It's 8 p.m. It's time for Let's Talk Shop. So, welcome, Greg, co-host
Hello.
extraordinaire. So tonight, I had educational benefits up, and I was going to talk about them, but man, those are all over the internet. We do that all the time. And there's a new thing out that I actually people ask the VA about. And when I talked to the VA, she was a very nice lady, and what they're doing is they're revamping the condition on the terminal illnesses and stuff like that. That these toxins that we have been in contact with, that they have put us in contact with, such as Agent Orange, these guys with GU, these guys with burn pits. They still don't know the whole thing about burn pits, and I'll get into that later because that's ridiculous with all this going on right now. We just, I don't know, man. It's just one of those things that they are trying to revamp everything and help us and make it easier for more conditions to get covered, such as Vietnam veterans. A big one is COPD. Guys keep talking about lung cancer and COPD. Man, I was in Vietnam, but I've never smoked a day in my life. I got COPD. Were you in
hmm
Agent Orange contact? Now they're figuring it out, and it took them 50 years to do it. I mean, look at Ohio going on right now. They've got chemicals. Everywhere's full of chemicals going on right now. Um, and you got the burn pit stuff that we were all exposed to. I mean, we burn feces, trash, batteries, everything right there behind the aid station. I remember that. And they had a big pit back there. We burned stuff in. Yeah, I remember that. And then we every morning we had to go get JP8 and burn our piss and shit out of the latrines that we shared with the scouts. So we took turns. One week we did it, the next week they did it, or I don't remember how the hell that worked, but that's what we did. No, I won. So I know these other guys out here. I was talking to one cat. He was Vietnam vet, and he posted on our little group there about Agent Orange sucks. Man, I know it does, dude. That's one of the reasons I started this group. My dad, his cancer was caused by Agent Orange. My dad passed away February 4th last year from that cancer. It was prostate cancer, and 1 year he had prostate cancer. Like a year and a half later, he had one kidney taken out. Um, went in remission for a little bit, and then his prostate cancer came back, but he had no prostate. So uh, went through radiation therapy after radiation therapy. He went into remission for a long time, and then he got out of remission. That's pretty much, you know, um, hit him pretty hard, pretty quick, and they put him on some injections in the stomach and all kinds of other stuff and hormones and all kinds of weird stuff. But he did good for several years, and I mean, they told him when he got prostate cancer the first time, they're like, "Oh, we give you like 3 to 5 years or whatever." And shit, the last time they came back, or the next time they came back, they were like, "Oh, you'll be lucky if you got like 2 years left." Hell, we got another like 15 years with him. Hell, I was good with it, you know, but not everybody's that lucky. I had a guy I served with, Brian O'Brien, the most Irish name ever, and I made fun of him with it because he drove a Dodge, and I just laughed. I was like, "Man, you think you're like a '20s gangster driving a Dodge, one of the old Dodge gangster wagons?" but he actually worked with me in the jail. He passed away from pancreatic cancer, and he was 24, 26, and he went over 3 or 4 times. 2 times. No, he was 2 times like me because he just got back before he got out, and he was trying to go into the reserves or reserve unit, whatever. I think he went one active, one reserve, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, healthy, nothing wrong with him. Came back working in the jail, uh, and I saw his car one day and stopped in, and it was his wife, and I was like, "Hey, where's O'Brien at?" And she was like, he passed away." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, he got stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and it got him pretty quick." And I was like, "Wow." And then, you know, I'll talk to other people that are getting a lot of pancreatic cancer right now. So I'm starting to think, something somebody was exposed to, the batteries or whatever they're saying, burn it now. I don't, but it's been crazy, but they are expanding. That's pretty good for us right now. Um, Even if you don't have symptoms, guys, when you're young, you're immune to everything. Look at Greg. He's 180 years old on the spot. Don't let him drive you around Dallas. This mug will tell you everybody that lived everywhere in the 1900s because he knew them all. He grew up with all of them.
Well, not all of them, but anyway,
Yeah.
uh, on what we're talking about tonight, with the exposure stuff, it's not just the overseas stuff either. I mean, there's a whole list, and uh, I've actually written one company, one of these law firms, a letter. There's a list of about I don't know 70 or 80 bases that have had contaminated water with jet fuel going into the water and different things. I myself have lived at or worked at many of them. Almost every base I've ever worked at is on the list. But when I write the letter, they tell me, "Oh, well, you're not part of that. You're not eligible for that." Like, there's a base that ain't on the list. I was at Fort Rucker, Alabama in 1994. They had to shut the water off on the whole base for 2 weeks because they figured out everybody had been drinking and bathing in jet fuel since the 1950s. When I first got there, I noticed, my then wife and I would complain to the maintenance people because every time you took a shower, you got out and you felt like you were covered in suntan oil. Yeah,
You
it's because it
were.
was jet fuel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not on the list.
Mm-mm.
So there's a lot of things out there, and that's one thing, especially the young guys. Like, I don't know so much about when Jared's days, my days when I was coming up when I first went in the military, which was 1985. I was still being, trained and raised, so to speak, by those Vietnam era vets and some older than that who were, you don't go to the sick call for nothing, you know. Don't be a sick bay commando, you know. And my own son that's in the military now, I told him, man, look, from day one, if you get a paper cut, get a piece of paper, right? It may not seem like much until 20 years down the road when they're like, oh, if you ever cut your finger on a piece of this special blue paper, you now got, blue testicle disease and you're going to die. Well, they didn't know, right?
But
Because
that's
let's,
I mean, that's true though, because you and me both were medics, and if it didn't get put on paper, it never happened.
mm-mm.
So you can go to
Sometimes
the
even if it,
VA and say, "Hey, I was here on this day, this day, this day," and I'm looking and I'm like, "I don't see anything in your records this,"
mm-hmm.
and they're gonna look at you and be like, "All right, you're gonna have to come up with the witness statements and this and that and the other," and you know, well,
Sometimes even if it's written down, it didn't happen. But don't let people tell you, oh no, that ain't worth going to. If you're hurting, if you think it might hurt you later, get somebody to write it down, put it in your record because it's Well, it's part of what I talk to young people about going in the military. Your exit plan, because we all know you can't stay there forever. I know I tried.
And this goes back to a video I posted the other day, about the whole retirement plan they've got set up now. It's a damn joke. And they're talking about recruiting is down 50%. Of course it is. One, you don't pay these young guys enough to go put their life on the line when they can go down to goddamn Burger King and make 18 bucks an hour to flip a burger, but you want me to go man for $12 an hour because I got insurance? Mm-mm. No, I don't blame them. Nope, nope. And I'm not mad that it's not competitive pay. It's not about pay, but the young people coming up these days. I'm so really worried about the future of this country and the world, really, with some of these kids coming up. I'm like, these are the people that's really going to take over. And then, why? It's almost, some of this stuff, you're just looking at these kids like they're just damn fools, which they are. But, some of them are smarter than hell. They just weird, all these different, I'm a cat. No, you're not.
Saw an
There ain't
article
none of this.
today.
There's no interspecies nothing. I
Saw
can't
an
go I can't go put my dog and my you have a dog and a cat, Greg.
Yes.
If they play booty booty and the duty duty, are they gonna have a litter of puppies or anything of shit
There no
dogs or
there'll be no pittance,
yeah. So
no
no.
cogs, no pittance.
Anyways, that's another story.
But
I don't agree with it, but
um,
that's my deal.
so
You
like
do you, boo.
I was you were talking about the exposure stuff. I was looking over the PACT Act, and that's pretty good that they're coming up with that. Trying to make that better, um, and not just those things. Like I tell people, injuries. I mean, I myself, my deal. I've had injuries that the military took me to the hospital for, and then turned around and told me, "Oh, that's not service related." Well, I was doing your stuff when you had to take me to the hospital. I was wearing your funny suit, doing your stuff, but hey, you know, and
That's when
that's a
they
big
decided to do
plus.
Mach 4 training or whatever they call that NBC shit now in the middle of the summer with a
Yeah.
bunch of damn reservists that only play 2 weeks a year.
Well, that's a big problem between the active duty and the reserve too. Is when it comes to your retirement and your medical, they play the game with the reservists. They say, "Oh, well, that wasn't diagnosed by a military doctor." Well, if you're a reservist and you're on track care, whatever doctor takes track care is your military doctor. If you go to a civilian hospital and the army took you there and TRICARE pays for it, that's your military doctor.
Yep,
And they say, yeah, you're right, but it wasn't a military doctor that diagnosed your sleep apnea, so not our problem. Even though, you look at some of us reservists, like myself, I probably had more time working for the military than I did working for the civilian side, even though I was a reservist. They called, I went, whatever. But um, so there's a lot of things in there that could change over the next few years. I hope for the sake of not only those of us that have served, those that are serving, and those that will serve. And it's just like anything else. And I always tell people, I used to work at the VA, and the biggest reason the VA doesn't do things is because we don't show up at the door and make them do it. And when I say show up at the door and make them do it, I don't mean like go in there screaming and yelling. But if there's a doctor that's supposed to treat everybody for, I don't know, toe cheese, and nobody shows up, well, that doctor just sits there getting paid, and eventually he don't want to treat toe cheese. He just wants to hang out and get paid, right? So if you call all your buddies and be like, man, if you got toe cheese, let's go down there on Thursday and line up, at the toe cheese doctor, right?
pretty much.
Make
Yeah,
them do their job.
I mean that's great. I mean, I was going to go into that.
Sorry.
Your no, you're fine. That's great. Your healthcare is your responsibility, guys. And I'm gonna tell you all a lot. I used to work a lot of hours, a lot of hours, and man, it just finally took a toll. And they would get mad when I had to take a day off. We have nobody to cover you. You know what? You have that PTO and them sick days and doctor days, personal days, whatever, for a reason. If that's what you have in your company, use them. Just like the VA, use them. That is your benefit. And it doesn't have to be just your medical benefits. There are so many benefits out there. I I got a house with a home loan. I'm looking at some land up northeast Texas. I mean, just we're thinking about maybe TVLB or whatever, relocation or whatever we might want to do in the future. We're just throwing ideas out, but it's one of those things that it's there for you to use. You might as well use it. These guys that are in these positions, they're in Bill Gates, Donald Trump, all these millionaires and billionaires. You didn't think they used loopholes and everything and what they had available to them? And look where they're at. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. Young guys, these young vets are, I keep hearing them, I don't have time to go to the VA. I don't have time to file my disability. Man, it takes 2 minutes to go online to your e benefits. And if you don't have e benefits, you can sign up for e benefits. And then you'll verify your account, which it's free. It's not a, it says premium account, it's free. Make sure you do your e benefits. File a claim online. It takes 3 minutes to file a claim. You put your name, your social, hey, this is what happened, blah, 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 blah. I have a pain in my, you know, left toe because when I was in Iraq, I decided to be a dumbass and put the muzzle on my left toe and I shot it off. Hey, I don't have a toe. I went to sick call. Here's the paperwork. I don't have a left toe. Congratulations. You now have a disability. You're getting 10%. And people are like, I don't need the money. It's not about the money, guys. It's not. It's about when you get older, even if you do your retirement and everything like that, it's never about the money.
Well,
It's a
you got to
benefit
remember
you work for.
the VA is a government organization. So if everybody says, I don't need the money, they'll reduce the budget. And then there'll be less money for the people who need it more.
Yeah.
I'll be first one to tell you, my wife had to jump all over me to go to the VA because I was like, I didn't deploy to combat, man. There's people that need it worse than me. But
I
that ain't true, you know.
I got a buddy right now. He did six he did 3 years in the Navy, but on his DD 214 it says he only did 6 months. But he has all the documentation, like all his records where it shows he did 3 years. He's like, I don't really care what the DD 214 says. I was like, no, yes, you do.
Yeah, you do.
Because you didn't follow 6 months. That's not 180 days active duty after your training time. If you do that, then you're eligible for all your benefits because now you have been in over a year, you know, all
Hmm.
that Legion and all the stuff like that, and the VA and stuff been like, oh, well, I was on this thing and I fell and got hurt. Now I'm having issues with my back and my shoulders or my neck or whatever. And you saw that I fell off of this rig. Okay, got your claim. And it's not
Hmm.
about you needing the money. It's about you need to get it fixed or treated
Well,
somehow.
the thing is, guys, we're all going to get to a time in life when we can't work. I mean, it's just going to happen. You're going to get old, and you're going to get to a point where you can't work, or you can't, you can't afford medical care or whatever, and you're not. Some people get to where they can't work, and they're not old enough to get Medicare, Medicaid, whatever the case may be. You know, this this benefit, the VA can help take care of you. Can it be a hassle to go to the VA, get an appointment, get what you need? Yeah, it can be a real hassle. Jared and I can both tell you, there's you may go to the doctor 10 times for the same thing before you get what you really need. And again, that's us making them do their job.
Yep, you got to hold them accountable because they're not going to hold you accountable for nothing. You're just a number in a system and a patient, just like running sick call for them. You go from clinic to clinic.
Hmm.
That's just what it is for them guys. They're most of them guys. I don't know about this one here, but I know the one down in Shreveport, LSU is right next door, the medical school. So all them students over there from the radiology program, the radiology techs, the nurses, everything medical that LSU has, those students are in that hospital. And that's great because they get their interns, and then they only got to have so many doctors because they can actually rotate through the students. So that actually saves them a lot of money and time because they don't have to pay for a full doctor. They can pay residency fees, whatever they get paid at intern, whatever the hell they get paid for.
Hmm.
They get something because they made it through med school, but
They get that
not
ramen
much.
noodle money.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's not much. It's a little bit of like 30,000, 40,000 a year, something like that, if that. But it's enough for them to get an apartment or living expenses and stuff like that. Because most of the time they're in a damn hospital anyways. Them doctors, boy. But yeah, you got to hold the VA responsible because if you don't, they're just gonna pass you up. Actually, mental health. Their trauma team. I don't know how many people watching this are out of state. If you're out of state, Texas, wherever, guys. Apparently, I don't know if my chat's working or not. I can't see nobody coming in, but um, a lot of them guys in Texas. Shit, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I lost it. Whatever. I fucking did. We- I
Well,
haven't slept real well the last couple of days. Been bad days.
well, when it comes to mental health, I know the VA has made drastic improvements over the last few years. They're just like everybody else in America, though. They're still not where they need to be with mental health. Um,
Mm, yeah, I can agree with that. The Dallas VA not where it needs to be, but it's got a lot better. It was better in Shreveport.
yeah, I mean, it's gotten a lot better than it was when I worked in at the VA up there in Montana just a few years back. In 2013. It's gotten a lot better since then.
I think the Walter Reed thing helped a lot.
Yeah.
They see that they were short staffed and just not getting what the soldiers needed, and it was kind of like just substandard care, and these guys were like severely wounded bad soldiers, and they needed just not the physical therapy, they needed the emotional and the mental help and all that stuff too, which I know there's programs out there like the Wounded Warrior Foundation apparently was there. Like I said, apparently, because
Well,
I
part
got
part of the problem
somebody
part of
that's
the
never
problem
seen.
too when you're staffing mental health is your mental health providers need mental health providers. They can't listen to everybody else's problems all day and then not have anybody to dump on and not have anybody to talk to about it to help them digest it. And so it becomes a big cycle where it's hard for facilities to staff people because if you got three counselors, then you got to have three counselors for the counselors, and so on. And there's other disciplines that don't get recognized that could come in and help. um, Certain behavioral health specialists. I mean, I knew one in the army. She had her master's degree in behavioral health science, and she had some sort of counseling certification. And the army still wouldn't recognize her as a mental health professional. And so she got out of the army and went to work in the civilian side because she was trying to help people, and they were like, "Look, you know, uh, it's kind of like being the certified life coach. You become a certified life coach. You're not a psychologist. You're not a psychiatrist. So some people don't recognize you as, you know, mental health, providing mental health services
Right.
because you're not a doctor.
Yes.
It's
Oh,
it's kind of like when medics leave the military. Across the board, no matter what service, military medics are the most underemployed group of veterans across the board. They
I
have a higher level of skill in most cases, but the civilian side refuses to bring on the certification that they've been promising for 20 years of EMTM, so that they could bring their skills to the civilian world. And because I don't know, doctors wouldn't be able to charge as much money if other people could save people's lives, I guess. Who knows? I mean, and they're trying to push things out the door now. Even mental health, they're trying to push it out the door onto civilian paramedics. Um, they're trying to get them to deal with it in the field. And unless you work for a fire department here in Texas, if you're a private paramedic, you're only making about $16 an hour to start. And doesn't seem like it'd be worth it to take on all the liability.
I think it's more than that
It's a little bit more now, but it's not what it should be.
because I think it was like 16 to 18 when I got out in '09,
Yeah. Well, that's what,
and
you know,
16 an hour in '09 was a lot of money though.
yeah.
Especially right there at that bad housing, all that Fannie Mae or whatever it was, stuff going on and all that. So yeah,
But even
I feel that.
hospitals that have EMTs and paramedics working in the emergency room, they don't want to pay you what they should pay you because, you're not a nurse.
Right.
Same way with
Well,
mental health. You know, the
that's
army
true.
ha- the,
And
you know, the army has mental health teams made up of enlisted soldiers that all work for a mental health provider, and they sit there and try to help people. They're trained to do that, but they come out here to the civilian world and they're not allowed to do that.
mhm, yeah, I mean, look at medics. I mean, medics. When I was in the military, we carried morphine in our bags. We carried antibiotics in our bags. We carried different NSAIDs and other different medications as a PLA and a doctor would prescribe in, you know, a clinical setting. But I'm out here in the field, and I've got is, you know, we're out for 3 4 days, and I've got a guy that's out here sick, and you know, got this and this going on, and I got to take care of him. Or if we got hit, I had morphine or whatever I needed to get him out of there. Um, so it was just one of those things that I when I got out of the military, it was just in awe that the medics were so much overtrained. But looking at it, being a medical assistant as a medic coming out, they won't even really let you do that in the state of Texas. Now, um, corpsman, corpsman is a whole different level though, because them guys can get out and they can challenge the LVN nursing program. And once they're an LVN, they can actually work towards their RN. So they're making pretty dang good money, but LVNs usually are your uh, the ones in charge of your CNAs or whatever, and then you got your chief nurse, and then however that goes. Usually, that's the LVNs I know in Texas are now mostly in nursing homes. There's not as many in uh, hospitals anymore. They're all going to MAs, CNAs, and RNs because they're paying MAs less than they're paying LPNs. They're doing the same thing. And then if they have to pay a nursing, they might as well pay an RN.
Well, and talking about that and using that as an example, um, that's one of the things you need to make the VA work for you on. The VA has lots of programs to get you retrained to make better money. Um, The only problem with a lot of their programs, unfortunately, like Voc Rehab, most people that have any disability are eligible for Voc Rehab. The only problem with Voc Rehab is if you have a crappy job and you want to train for a better job, you have to quit your crappy job and be unemployed in order to go under Voc Rehab, which I think is kind of ridiculous. If you're eligible for the benefit and they got the money for the program, you should be able to train to do something better. Um, but that also leads back to what we're talking about. Why do vets need these benefits? Even if you weren't a combat vet, when you leave the military, most of us, we lose a sense of purpose, especially after you've been on active duty for a little while. Like you come off active duty and all of a sudden you're just like, okay, there's really no structure to the world. Um, I don't know when I'm going to get paid again. I don't know what time to eat, right? Just little things that you don't think about, but you're used to. Oh, I know the chow hall opens at this time. I can go over there and eat. Or I know I get paid the first and the 15th. You can come out here in the real world, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're on your own, buddy. Have a nice life. And you don't have the camaraderie that you had in the military because it's just like a family. What happens when all the kids grow up? They take off everywhere. Well, everybody gets out of the military. They either go home or they go somewhere. They very seldom all group in one spot. The only time you really see that is with the National Guard. A lot of the Guard units, they're all from, especially from the ones that are in the smaller towns. They all know each other, so they all see each other all the time. But it leads to veterans trying to find their own way and not realizing that the best way for us to find our own way is to talk to each other, because half the time the VA ain't going to tell you what all your benefits are. You're going to find out because you're sitting in the waiting room and some vet leans over and goes, hey man, did you know if you come up here every Tuesday they got free hot dogs? And you're like, what? They got free hot dogs every Tuesday? So you decide to go up there on a Tuesday for free hot dogs, and you sit down next to some other vet and he's like, hey man, have you heard of this, SEGs for vets? By the way, that is a program, SEGs, not sex, SEGs for vets. Certain vets with certain disabilities, you are eligible to get a free Segway provided by the VA. It's a program they have, SEGs for vets. Uh, but you find out about those things literally by going to your VA appointments and sitting in the lobby and leaning over and going, hey man, what's going on today? And somebody will say, oh, did it's not a big deal, but hey, every third Thursday the VA gives out free bags of socks. You know, so you come to the free sock Thursday, and then you find out, oh, on free sock Thursday, I talked to this guy I never met before from some other branch, and he told me about this benefit, and I went down and checked on it, and wow, I'm eligible for that benefit. I'm sure somewhere, and like I said, I used to work for the VA, and I'm sure somewhere they have a giant list that's alphabetized and numeralized of every benefit they have. Unfortunately, I don't think any of it has ever been put in the same, all in the same book, or even on the same piece of paper. Maybe I'm wrong, but I ain't found
Probably
it.
not even in the same zip code, bro.
Yeah,
I mean, them.
it's like the nuclear codes. The one's here, one's over there. You know,
Or classified documents. Some's over here at Biden's house. Some's over there at Pence. Some's over there at Trump's. Hell,
maybe we should just ask
why
WikiLeaks.
don't we just take a damn 747 or C-130 and just let the whole damn archives out in the middle of a damn Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, all one of them damn stands that hate us. Just open it up, let them go. About the same difference.
But that's the biggest thing is formats like this one. Talk to each other. If you discover something that you think nobody's ever heard of, the worst thing somebody can say is, "Oh man, I heard about that already," right?
Yeah,
But for every
but I
one
mean, they
person,
might have more details about it though
yeah,
than you. And oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I'll talk to that guy
I,
because
I
then
mean,
now I'm eligible.
I give you an example. VA Montana, if you have plantar fasciitis, will not only give you inserts for your shoes, they'll give you shoes. brand new shoes, like Nike shoes, whatever shoes fit your feet. But if you
Mm.
have that prescription in your record and you move back to Texas, Texas don't give shoes, or at least they didn't when I went with my prescription.
Well, that could be under like Texas has the Texas Veterans Commission, the TVC.
Mm-hmm.
So they regulate some of that too, and it
Right,
depends on what state, the financing, the budget,
right.
the homeless rate, this, that, and the other, the average capita per income, and all that. That's how they get all their money, and
Mhm.
all their budgeting.
Right.
And
Oh, I
that kind
know.
of program can, maybe they can afford it. Hell, what? So what? They got to go buy 7 pairs of damn shoes. I mean, how many people live in fucking Montana, bro? Like 9?
Well, the VA in Montana serves Montana and South Dakota and North Dakota. So,
Yeah,
uh,
so a whole whopping like 30 people in the whole. No wonder they can't find a provider. Do you know
yeah.
how damn cold it gets up there? No.
Well, the clinic I worked,
Nuh-uh.
the clinic I
Nope.
worked at, we were kind of the middle where we were at, and we were an outreach clinic. And a lot of my patients came from South Dakota. They had to drive 8 to 10 hours to get to an appointment.
Mm-mm. No. You
That
can
was the
mail me
closest
a
place
damn
for them to go.
prescription. The hell with you. That shit, man. No. That's like that damn post dude, man. They were talking about I have one house like 5 hours out. And I was like, I'm not driving 5 hours one way to deliver a goddamn envelope and come back to the station.
Mm.
No, you might call Amazon or UPS or FedEx if they going that way, drop it off at the nearest town, let them go. Nope. He can drive his ass in there and pick it up. I'm not doing all that. But,
But my
anyways,
point
brother.
being, there's different benefits, especially vets that are moving around for work or whatever. One just because you had that benefit in your home state or your whatever state, when you go to the next state, it may change.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all based on whatever, like Um, so you got to look at your VA by state. It's just how they work.
Yeah. Well, that's more like, yeah, your Veterans Commission, basically. I don't know what the hell they call it in other states. I know Texas is Texas Veterans
Yeah,
Commission. They pretty much run like most of the VRC stuff and all the benefits and the Hazelwood Act stuff and everything through Texas via
yeah.
Texas Veterans Commission, Texas Veteran Land Board, all that kind of stuff, guys. So,
Well, we're in Texas. We got plenty of extra money in the state budget. I mean, what are we
well,
sitting on now? What are we sitting on now? $27 billion in the slush fund.
oh, don't be saying that out here. Mm-mm. No, we don't need them fools in Washington. Come on down here and be trying to audit Texas and all that.
They can't audit us.
No,
That's our money.
yeah, but that's one thing though. I mean, right now everything. I just looked at land, man. Land's going back down. So
Yeah,
I'm watching the economy right now because everybody knows it's the interest rates are increasing, and when the interest rates increasing, the banks are hurting. When the banks are hurting, the inflation, we all know what's fixing to come, and we're just trying to figure out which country we're going to this time. I mean, if you look at the past, I mean, you got China trying to fuck around to find out. You got Putin over there with his head up his ass. He's running for his goddamn life because Zelensky's fucking them up with, you know, old ass shit that America gave him. That's dude. When we're giving you substandard Marine Corps shit, that's when it's bad. If you're getting your ass whooped, okay, that's how bad you're getting your ass tore up right now, Putin. I'm just letting you know that. Putting it out there. You can come on, subscribe. You got any problems, you can kiss my ass. I don't give a fuck. But that's just the way it is. I mean, you know, they got like Gen 7 fighters kicking the shit out of them right now. Well, shit, we're like on what? 12th gen, something like that, 11, 12, and good lord, I don't know. I don't think I think they said they were going to try to keep pushing them back into until they go all the way to Moscow, but I don't know. I don't, you know, that's politics. I don't really care. I mean,
I mean,
I'm tired of
like
watching them give us our damn money away though. Why
like I
increase
told
my goddamn taxes because you're giving my money away? Damn.
like I told you the other day, the Ukrainians should be smart and just step aside and let Russia crash into the Polish border, and it'll be done. The Poles ain't gonna put up with it.
Yeah. Mm-mm. I don't know, man. That's another subject for another day. Right now, we're about 41 minutes in.
All right.
I'm gonna holler off here right now, and I appreciate you guys coming on. Let me know what y'all think.
Have a good one, everybody.
Yep. Stay easy, stay breezy, stay high. Good night.